to another video. So this is another truth about parenting video, and it's about how to. So we had Mother's Day on Sunday, and I hope you all had a good one. Can't believe that was 5 days ago, but it was. And I want to talk about in this video about the joys of being a mum and the joys of of the little things, and also about parenting guilt, which we can often feel. So things like the joy of parenting is when you haven't seen your son for all day, and then you pick him up from school and they literally fly at you to give you a great big hug. And when Henry started to want his dad to pick him up, I did feel kind of like, oh, okay. But kids do go through phases like that, and I'm not gonna let it bother me, because that's just he likes to see he does love seeing me at the end of the day. And when there were times when he would be see beaming smile coming towards me, it does make all those sort of struggles that parenting can bring along kind of like worth it in the end, and it is. It's Mother's Day. I did get to see my son on a Saturday, and he did me a card, and a little card, just rough piece of paper, but I didn't mind, we constantly can feel guilty, at the time, and to stop that guilt, what I would say to you is, because when they, for example, wake up in the morning, sometimes you could be like, oh, I'm going to stay in bed, and then you feel guilty for feeling that way. But you see, it's normal, you are allowed to be tired, so tell yourself that, you are allowed to be tired, you are allowed to feel frustrated, you are allowed, it's human beings. Okay, coffee, this is nice, by the way. I find that, when you acknowledge how you're feeling, it does better, does wonders. And we need to stop feeling like we can't feel. Human beings are made to feel different things, That's why when there's a bereavement, you first week to be absolutely devastated. Then comes the anger, and then comes that you try and reason with it. Well, that's me anyway. That's how I deal with things. And parenting isn't an easy task, and I'm not gonna cover over that by saying it's all hunky dory, and it's not. It depends on the person. There's people who absolutely blend into it without a scar. And then there's people that, if especially suffer with anxiety, it can quadruple. And so, my one tip, the next tip that I would give is to take 5, and that's a technique that I've learned since becoming a parent, where I will just go out the room, breathe, count to 5, go back in the room, There was times when Henry would not eat, the food I made him, and it could be so frustrating, But that's the thing, that's another thing, the tip number 3 would be to, don't make meal times and potty training into a big deal. Just if they do go to the toilet on the loo, then acknowledge it and say, well done, well done. I'll call my son, my little dude, and I'll say, well done, wash your hands, and then and people say you shouldn't reward for those things, but I actually think it does wonders to do that. You know, the problem at the moment in this society, you've got a lot of people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that." You know, and it can be confusing. But how I see it is that I believe in easy, flexible parenting, where you allow kids to have the space to be a child and not force them into doing things they don't want to do, you know. And let them learn as they play, you know. That is the best thing for kids. Sitting down all the time doing lessons where they have to like really concentrate. Okay, for about, I would say do those from my own experience for about 5 to 10 minutes, or 2 to 3 minutes at first, and then progress the time as they grow, you know, because the older you are, the more you'll concentrate, and I do believe in the fact that you have to allow them to breathe and find out things for themselves. Don't jump in. If they can't tie up their shoelaces and you're not in a rush, then, one, I would say, make sure that you give yourself enough time so they could do it themselves. And if they get frustrated, don't get angry with them, just say, okay, let me show you, and show them again. And keep showing them, and then get them to untie it and do it again themselves, you know. You do have to be, as a parent, patient, because everything to a child is new. Their surroundings, their, learning to walk, talk, crawl, climb, it's all part of their development and their growth. So I would say to stop the pressure, and this would be my tip number 4, to stop the pressure, give them space. Okay, just give them space, and it makes your life a lot easier. And if they want to watch a quiz show on telly, put it on. If they want to watch something on a tablet, let them. But yes, monitor, how long they spend on it. But if it's making them happy, they're not kicking off and having a tantrum, well, I don't see what's wrong with it, For me, easy, flexible parenting is what's helped me blend into parenting. And I've found that not putting pressure on myself has actually helped us to bond even more as mother and son, and he's, my love, my new man, who has now gotten to know me. He is exactly the same, and to him and his dad also, and it's about being flexible and not putting too much pressure on yourself. If you release the pressure off you, then you relieve the pressure off of them, and it's just not being so worried about things like time, because kids don't care about time, to be honest. They do like routine. Henry does, and you'll find that he will have a routine and know what's coming next, Like when we used to go walk to school, he would pick up his rucksack, or he will go and get his shoes to put on. And I see my role as a parent as a support network to him, as well as his dad. For him to become independent, because that's the whole point of it. Because as much as we would love to live on this planet, forever. That's not going to be possible, So we have to prepare for the future, And the one thing that I've learnt from, other parents is that you come to know as you get older the people that were very influential in your life, whether it was good, they were a good person or a bad person. And for me, my role models, excluding family, at the minute, were four people, and that was a lady called Sandy and Sue, and there was another lady that also used to do the same with them, but I can't remember her name. But they were the two that influenced me as a child, because they were the playgroup I went to. They were the leaders of the playgroup, and it was great. I absolutely loved it. And when I moved from there to a nursery, it took me a while to adjust, because I loved how the playgroup was put together, and I loved it, and I wish that I had been. I did learn things at nursery, I did, but I found a lot of the time that the nursery nurses could be quite abrupt, and Sandy and Sue were, experienced nursery nurses as well, but they were very cheerful, very approachable. They didn't snap, they didn't shout and holler, they didn't make you cry. They just nurtured you whilst you were there. And then one thing I used to look forward to is having a biscuit. We didn't have lunch or anything there. We would have milk and biscuits, and I used to love that, And if I have kids, and I would like to create playgroups again, because they were such a grounded platform that you didn't feel pressure. You could just be a child, play and have fun. And I love dressing up, I love that. And it's being free, and kids like to be free. They don't want to be too structured, because then they feel like they're being cooped up, and then that's where they can play up and be disruptive, So I would definitely bring, if there's no playgroups now, I would bring them back, because I think for me they were a great foundation for me, and I absolutely loved them, And the other two are two people that were on my estate, were Brenda and Diane. They created groups for kids on that estate, because it was the kids on that estate where I lived that helped keep the neighbourhood of those estates safe. And because we would, kind of like patrol the estate. So if anybody came on it and tried to wreck our swings and our fence, we used to call it, which had a football pitch in it, we would turf them off, And they too did something that was, they didn't get paid to do it. They did it voluntarily. They wanted something for kids to do, because when kids have nothing to do, that's when they can form gangs and do other things that aren't so good. And then they can, kids get bored, and when kids get bored, that's when they play up, and that's when they can become little sods, I was the same. When I was bored, that's when I would have a tantrum, so you need to keep kids' momentum going, and they created Girls Night and Boys Night, and I loved it. I was bullied on the estate by some of the bigger girls, and they did it at girls' night, but they dealt with that for me, and I am so grateful for them because I loved it. And apart from that, I loved it because we would do jewellery making. Me and one of my friends, well, Katrina didn't always come, bless her. And there are reasons why, but I want to let her that's her story. But Lynette, that's how me and Lynette used to, she used to teach me lots of like board games that I never played before, like chess and backgammon, you know. I would play pool, it was just great fun. It was only on for about 3 hours, but it was just a great way for kids after school to do something, to do something different than playing out, because a lot of the stuff on the estate started to close, so they created a girls' night to give us kids on the estate still something to do, and not have to worry about homework. Because I've got to say, back then, at school, we didn't get homework. And when I had my heart operation, I had to do some homeschooling to catch up. I did, but you get this at the primary school. Your education was in that school, and then you didn't have to take it home. The only thing you took home was if you did a drawing or like a story, that kind of thing. And that's where and I just got to come with another tip then, and it's gone out my head. I hope it's gone out my head. That just came to my head. Yeah, and I do think that there is a lot more demanding now at primary school, because if you see the homework that my son was getting, and it was like, bloody hell. Do you realise I'm only like 6 years old? And even I got overwhelmed by that. I'm like, blimey, but we tried to do bits of it. And that's what I would say is, to primary schools, not to give kids too much homework, but enough that it can be made into fun games and fun learning. Because our kids, I worked better when it was fun learning rather than strict, no talking, no interaction classes. Because I found them to be kind of like, I just wouldn't pay attention. I would just daydream and not take none of it in, and be like, come on, P30. Come on, P30. You know you want to come, so I can go home. Forget about the school day, and then watch, series or CITV, and then at 5:35, it was time for Neighbours. Yes, on BBC One. And you can tell this is the 80s because that's what time it was on. And yes, that was a life back then. Now it's like they have to have homework, and it's like, I can understand why he would stamp his feet, because they've been to school for 7 hours, and even I, when I was a kid, I was like, no, I don't want to do any schoolwork, but I just got in, and no, I'm not interested. So I can understand why my son is like that, because you don't want to be. You've been at school all day, you don't want to be there and doing more, so that's the other thing, is to say, don't feel pressure in doing the homework, do what you can, and I find easy, flexible parenting to be the best structure for me and my son. He smile. I like to see my son smile rather than having a tantrum and looking upset, I want him to smile and enjoy the days. I mean, he does look forward to going to school. He does, but when he gets in, I can see that he just wants to chill, or have a kick about in the garden, So yeah, but yeah, and I would say, bring if you are have got children who are, find it hard something to do. That's the other tip. Is have them do a hobby. I was always doing hobbies, like I was doing swimming lessons, and I did tap and ballet, ballroom dancing, and it's good to have kids do a hobby, you know. So that would be my other tip I'll give. Anyway, so I am going to finish here, but I will see you next time.